Hello. Welcome in. Sorry I'm running a little late. I am Tammy Mashtaberty, best-selling author of the book The Universe is Talking to You. And I am excited to be here because, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about today for my weekly spirit boost because I'm live here every Thursday if you're just finding me at noon Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And it came to me last night. I literally asked the universe, like, what should I talk about? Because there's been so many things going on. And I said, no, I need to share the books that started my path. It sort of just came to me. So that's what I am here for. Let me see. Just wondering why I don't see. If you're here, let me know because I'm not seeing comments and I'm hoping this is working and I'm in the right place. So if you're here on Facebook or YouTube, just say hello in the comments so I can make sure that everybody can hear me okay, and that everything is working properly. Hi, Hazel. Okay, I see. Yay. Okay, so I wanted to share. I feel like we all, oh, it just came on. Okay, great, great, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. I think there's like a delay from when I start talking to when it actually starts showing you guys on Instagram and not on Instagram. Instagram, hi, you can see me. But on Facebook and YouTube, there's like a weird delay with my streaming service. So I think we all start on a spiritual path for a certain reason, and then I think we all are guided as to where we need to go on that path. And those of you who know me and my story, who've read my book, The Universe is Talking to You, or heard me speak at all, my mother's death is what started me, sort of on my spiritual path, on the path that I'm on now. And in that, there were key books that played a role. And I know these books were brought into my life in order to further me down the road to where I am right now. And I wanted to share them with you because I think they're still very relevant today. Because I started my spiritual path over 20 years ago. I was 22 years old when my mother died, and so some of these books were literally just published as I was going along on that path. So I want to share them with you today in hopes that maybe they will be of interest to you because they are, again, still amazing books. So for me, and I tell this story, so if you've heard the story, bear with me, but I tell this story in The Universe is Talking to You, that, the universe is always using signs, synchronicities, ideas that pop in your head, right, to guide you. And for me, the most synchronistic thing that happened, really the first thing that I noticed when I went back, and in my book, I tell you to take an inventory of your life and do the follow the footsteps to find these things. So when I did that for myself, I realized 6 months before my mother died, a friend of my sister's brought a book into our home. I can still see myself sitting on the floor of the living room of my parents' house. My mother was on the recliner, and my sister and her friend were on the floor. And we were just like talking. I don't know why we weren't sitting on the couches, but we were on the floor. We're talking to my mother about this book. And the book was written by someone named George Anderson, who is still now an amazing medium. At the time, we're going back to 1999, because that's when she died. She died in December. This was like 6 months prior to her death. So in 1999, we thought he was like this guy who had this amazing gift, right? Like, whoa, my God, he can speak to people who have passed on. How amazing for him. What an awesome gift. And this was before mediums were on TV and it was a normal occurrence. Like, oh, someone passed. Have you seen a medium? And so we were talking about it with my mother before she died. And I remember having the whole discussion and my mother saying, "Oh my gosh, how amazing is this? I would love to talk to my parents, this whole situation. Like I would love to talk to my parents who have passed on because both of them had passed on at this point." And she's like, "But maybe that's just for people who, I feel like maybe that's more for people who like don't have closure. I was able to say goodbye to my parents and things like that." 6 months later, my mother passes away with no closure, brain aneurysm, complete shock. This book and I have the links, I have the books linked on Facebook and YouTube under the video. This first book that came into our house was the first book ever written by George Anderson. He had books written about him and his ability by others. The first book that he wrote about himself was called Lessons from the Light, where he shares a lot of the readings and experiences and things like that, and also his own experiences. So, oh God, the cat just jumped on my lap. So this book and this person, this George Anderson medium, was brought into our lives 6 months before my mother died. When my mother died, he started showing up everywhere. He started showing up everywhere. And my sister kept saying to me, Tammy, we have to go see this medium. He's showing up everywhere. Mommy knew about him. Remember, the book and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I know. So of course I got the book and I read the book and we wound up making an appointment and going 10 months after my mother passed away. So this book was so key. It was actually introduced because the universe knows your path, your angels, your guides. They know where you're headed. They know where you are going. It knew that I needed to see this book prior to my mother's passing so that number one, I would go see George Anderson to communicate with my mother. Number two, it opened up a whole new world to me because again, this was back in a time when mediums were not a normal everyday thing that everybody talked about. It was just sort of like, oh my gosh, this one guy can do this, right? So, and he's amazing, by the way. He's still, you can find him on Facebook. He's still practicing. He still does readings, and he was great. And we wound up going in person to a hotel. He rented, I guess, like a conference room to do the different appointments. And so we drove to Long Island for an appointment with him. Actually, I have excerpts from that because I was able to transcribe it because we had the audio. I have excerpts of that in the book, The Universe is Talking to You, and the amazing advice that my mother gave me that I still rely on today. So that was the first book. And that started me, the reading in that book opened me up to realizing that there is so much more than I realized, right? Like, oh my gosh, when we die, we don't really die. We actually move to a different realm. We go back home. And that's, the physical body dies, but the soul continues to exist. Your loved ones are still part of your life every day. And my mother confirmed this over and over again in that reading, but I digress because we're talking about books. So, so that was the first book. And I read that book and I said, okay, we'll go to this guy. And that sort of opened me up to realizing, there's something else. There's something more than just the religion that I was brought up in or the belief system that I was brought up in. It still meshed with that. I was brought up Catholic, but it just opened the door for me. And I always say, like, when you have an experience like that and a door opens, you can never unsee what you saw. You can never close that door again and pretend it's not there because it's such an eye-opening, amazing experience. So that was the first book. The second book came along shortly, I guess maybe it was a couple years after that, I'm not even sure, but it's another book by George Anderson. And it is called Walking in the Garden of Souls. So the first book is a lot about him and about, you see a lot of the readings and these amazing experiences that he had and the lessons that he has learned through doing these readings. The second book, Walking in the Garden of Souls, which I still just think needs to be out there more because nobody talks about it because it's an older book. Again, we're going back over 20 years. This book is him sharing about the other side. So it's about him sharing what he's learned, what happens after we die, what we experience, how it all works, specifically that he has learned from the souls on the other side through these readings and through talking to them and working with them. And so I devoured that book when it came out because I was like, I want to know what it's like and I want to know what we experience and I want to know. And I just remember reading it and thinking it was amazing. And that was the second book, I think, that really had an impact on me and made me just continue my search. So first it was Lessons from the Light by George Anderson, then it was Walking in the Garden of Souls by George Anderson. Now fast forward, I don't know how many years later, a number of years later, I was really still sort of searching for like a belief system or something that resonated with me, that made sense, that I could understand, that I could follow, that I could have in my daily life. And I will never forget, and I teach you, when you ask for help, the help comes. When you ask the universe to provide something, the universe is on it to provide it. It's up to us to recognize the guidance that's coming in, which is why I wrote the book, The Universe is Talking to You. So I'll remember one night before I was going to bed, I said a prayer and I literally asked, my mother, the universe, like, I'm looking for my next step. I'm looking for my next direction. I'm looking to understand more, right, of this spiritual world, and what direction should I be headed in, and what practices should I be doing, and what should I be paying attention to. Like, I read books on Buddhism, and I read books on just so many different aspects of things. And I was just like, what, like, where am I going? What is my next step? Where's my next path? And so in that, I remember that night I said a prayer and I asked for guidance. And I said, please, direct me on my path. And I went to sleep. And I woke up in the middle of the night, just, as we do sometimes. And then I couldn't sleep. I was awake and I was like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Flipped on the TV. As I flipped on the TV, there was a PBS special. And that PBS special was Dr. Wayne Dyer, who has since passed on. And I had the ultimate privilege of actually interviewing, and he was an amazing soul. And I've interviewed his daughters, who are also amazing people. And so at the time, I didn't know who the heck this Dr. Wayne Dyer was, but there he was on this PBS special talking about this concept called the power of intention. And I was like, I'm awake, whatever. Let me just say, sometimes PBS has cool stuff on, right? So as I'm listening to this man speak about what he is calling intention and the power of intention, I am now sucked in. And I'm like, why is this guy making sense to me, talking about intention and we are where we came from, and talking about real, like, God and spiritual concepts, and why is he making so much sense to me? Like, I just thought, why am I resonating with this? This makes sense. Like, of all the things that I have read before and tried to understand, this is clicking with me for some reason. So grabbed my computer, ordered the book. This was, again, years ago. I don't think there was Amazon. So I went to Barnes and Noble, ordered the book, The Power of Intention. And that was my next step. That was the next step on my path. I said the prayer, woke up in the middle of the night, don't know why, couldn't sleep, turned the TV on, which I don't even really do now usually. Well, now we have our phones. I usually listen to something to try and get myself back to sleep. And there he was, and there was my answer. There was literally my answer. And that sparked my next steps. And so I read The Power of Intention. I devoured that. I remember underlining things and thinking, like, oh my gosh, this guy gets it. Like, this makes so much sense to me. It was like something in me remembered that what he was saying was where I needed to go. And that set me off on my next path. And then I started devouring his stuff and reading and listening to his podcast. And his podcast led me to Deepak Chopra. And Deepak Chopra, I realized I was working in New York City at the time. And I realized, oh my gosh, there's a Chopra Center in New York. And then I looked it up and I wound up taking a perfect health seminar there, where I actually stayed in New York for like 4 or 5 days and did this whole thing at the Chopra Center. There's no Chopra Center in New York anymore, but there used to be. And I learned for the first time ever, learned a formal way to meditate, which is what they teach, is called primordial sound meditation, which is basically a mantra-based meditation. And And this opened me up to realizing, like, I don't want to work in my job anymore. And I want to do more things in this spiritual world. And I don't want to just have 2 to 3 weeks off a year. I want to be able to go and immerse myself in this stuff whenever I want to go and immerse myself in this stuff. And, again, if you read my book, I talk about how that event actually led me to getting Deepak Chopra on the first cover of the magazine that I used to publish, called Elevated Existence Magazine, because I wound up meeting the spa director there, and she wound up a year later helping me get Deepak Chopra for the first cover story. So it all comes back around, right? It's all synchronistic. The universe lined up all these things. And me saying a prayer in the middle of the night, asking, where do I need to go? The universe was like, we need to get her to Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer is going to get her to Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra is going to get her to the Chopra Center. The Chopra Center is going to line her up. So when she actually starts this magazine that we want her to start, we're going to be able to get her Deepak Chopra on the cover, because I knew that I needed to get somebody good on the cover in order for people to take me seriously and continue to publish the magazine. All of these things were being lined up for me. All I did was recognize the signs, right? So going back to the lessons from the light, my mother died. I saw George Anderson everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Lifetime TV did a special on him. Primetime TV did a special on him. He came to our town. My sister heard him on a radio interview. Like, it was insane. And I said, oh my gosh. And my sister's like, Mommy's trying to get our attention. Went back to that book, read that book, got immersed in George Anderson and understanding that we don't die and understanding that life goes on. That led me to George Anderson's next book. I read that. That was amazing. See, the thing is, in this, you realize I was stuck when I said that prayer and was led to Wayne Dyer. And I always tell people, please celebrate when you feel stuck. Please celebrate when you don't know what to do, because that means a breakthrough is coming. And all you have to do is ask for help to direct you out of it. We have to get stuck in order to grow. We have to come to a place where we're like, I'm not thrilled with where I am. I need something else in order to get to that next step. It's designed that way. Life is like, oh, I figured some stuff out. This is really great. Oh gosh, now I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let me ask for help. Oh yeah, now I'm going this. Oh, this is amazing. Life is awesome. Oh God, now I don't know what's going on. I'm stuck again. It's literally, to me, getting stuck is exciting, because now I can do something differently. Think about it. If you weren't stuck, would you try and change anything? Would you do anything differently? Would you look for another way if life was just swimmingly moving along? No. I got stuck, right? I got stuck and I was like, okay, like, I'm in this world, but where do I go now? Like, I need more. I need to know more. I need to know my next step. I said the prayer. I asked my mother, who was, by the way, very Catholic, very, there is no other way. But I knew on the other side, it's a different place. And so I asked her, please show me where else I need to go. Years later, through a friend who was a medium, she actually came through to me and was like, I'm so proud of you for taking the belief systems that I gave you and going beyond that. I'm so proud of you, because I was part of me felt guilty. Like, I don't know if my mother would be cool with me diving into all of these other ways of thinking. And she came through and was like, she's so proud that you took the foundation, because a lot of what I grew up with, I still practice and believe and have kind of tweaked in my own way. But that you took that foundation and built on it. And I know I was directed to that because I asked for it, because I was stuck, because I was upset, because I needed more. I needed more direction. I needed help in my daily life. And it led me to Wayne Dyer, and it led me to that book. So that's why I say those are like the 3 books that stay. I mean, I've read so many books that I could tell you about, but I always like to share the 3 that started me, because I was so guided to them. I was so guided to them. And I promise you, if you look back in your own life, you are guided. Everybody starts their journey for a reason. It's usually we start a spiritual journey, or we start on a new path, spiritually, belief system wise, when something happens to us. So I always say it's like a death, a diagnosis, or a divorce of some sort. It doesn't have to be a divorce from a husband or a wife. It can just be, an ending of something, a breakup of something. And so those are like the big 3, I think, that, we go through something and then it makes us look up. It makes us look for something else. When you are in that place, oh my gosh, that is when the universe can help you the most. That is when you can be directed the most. And the universe directed me. In fact, the universe started directing me 6 months before my mother even died, which was truly the catalyst to where I am now. It started directing me 6 months before, and I tell you, when I started writing the book, I went back in my own life, like I teach you in the book. I went back in my own life to find these connections. And in doing the exercise, listen, the exercises that I give you guys, I create them all for myself and then I share them. So I did these exercises and I that's when I realized, oh my gosh. And I remember I went to Amazon and I was like, when was this book first published? And da da da. And I realized this was right before my mother died. And this book came into the house before she died because I was meant to go to this man, George Anderson. I was meant to have my whole world opened up. I was meant to be sparked on this path, which has now led me 20 years later to be sitting here talking to all of you. So you all have that in your life. You all have those circumstances in your life. It's just that we don't realize it. I didn't even realize it until I started investigating it. And then you realize the magic that is actually existing all around you. Then you realize how guided you actually are and how magical you are and how magical life can be and how everything is actually designed to help you learn, to help you grow. Even getting stuck and being miserable in something is designed to get you to where you need to go next. It's a very different way to look at it, but to me, it's a very reassuring and comforting way to look at it. So that even when I'm stuck, I'm like, okay, this is annoying and I'm not happy, but this is cool because that means something good is coming. That means there's like a breakthrough coming. That means I can't wait to see what's going to unfold next. And the way that you get through that is you ask the universe for help. The way that you get through that is you say a prayer and say, show me where to go. Where do I need to go next? I am not happy. Getting that clarity of like, okay, what would I actually like to see instead of what I'm seeing now? And please help me create it, this or something better. Please guide me forward. That's what I asked for that night when Wayne Dyer showed up on my TV at like 2, 3 in the morning on PBS. And again, little did I know years later I was going to start a magazine and I was going to interview him. And I gave him an award. I remember I gave him an award and he sent me a beautiful letter back and it was unbelievable. I had no idea when I saw this man on PBS, right? But the universe knows your road. The universe knows your path. That's why we have to ask the universe for help because it has this unique vantage point, right? Your angels, your guides, your loved ones on the other side, the universe itself has this vantage point of seeing all the puzzle pieces on the board, of seeing everything, not just in your life, but everybody else's. And when you ask it for help, it can start moving these pieces around. It can start shifting things around to bring you into alignment and together with the right people, the right places, the right resources. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's a doctor, maybe it's a healing modality. When you ask it for help and say, help me recognize the signs that you send to direct me, because the universe will direct you through new ideas that pop in your head, signs around outside of you, and synchronistic experiences. When you ask it to do this, it starts moving things around. In my experience, it used someone else bringing a book into my house in the beginning to get me to George Anderson. It then showed George Anderson everywhere. And I was finally convinced. I said, fine, we'll book an appointment with this man who I have no idea who he is, and he could be crazy, and let's just do it anyway. And when I asked for help that night, the universe woke me up, had me turn the TV on and find Wayne Dyer. The universe knew that that was going to be on at a certain time, that I had to wake up at a certain time and have the urge to put the TV on and watch something, right? When you ask, it will help. So if you are stuck in any area of your life, I just want you to remember, yay, 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 something awesome is coming. So my job is to ask the universe to partner with me and then also ask it to not just send the signs, but help me recognize those signs. And then I am going to stay open and I am going to stay aware and I am going to pay attention and I am going to be guided and things are going to be effortless, right? There was no effort in me turning the TV on and seeing that. And then when he was resonating with me, I went do 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 and ordered his book. That's what we have to do. It's just this cycle of we're stuck, we ask the universe for help, it sends the signs, we take some action, it sends more signs, we take that action, it sends more signs, and we just keep moving until we start moving forward. So I totally went off on a whole tangent. I loosely plan what I'm going to talk about here, so I really do feel like stuff comes through me. But it started with the 3 books, and I just wanted to sort of share with you how I was guided to these books, and how I promise you, you are being guided to things. You maybe have guided to, maybe you just found me on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and you're watching this video and you were guided to it, or somebody sent it to you or whatever. There's a reason. Maybe something I'm saying is something you needed to hear. I don't know. But that's why I show up here every Thursday, right? At noon Eastern, because I feel like I am meant to share things. And often I share things from my own life because I really do feel like my life is designed to figure things out, to find different ways that work for me, and then to share them with other people. That's what it's based on, right? I come from a place of being stuck. I come from a place of struggling, of dealing with stuff that has dropped me down to my knees. And that is where my teachings and my practices come from, because I have found ways to help myself. And I always tell people I'm not a medium, I'm not a psychic. Yes, I'm at a point now where I'm extremely intuitive, and I do one-on-one sessions with people to help them uncover where they are stuck and the exact beliefs, and I can talk to their soul and their subconscious mind. I didn't start out that way. So if I am able to do this and figure this out and find a way out, then so are you. And so that is why I come on here and I share this stuff because I feel like, I teach what I've learned. That's basically how it works. So I just want to go to some comments before I jump off, because I've been rambling now forever. And again, I keep forgetting the links to those 3 books. You can find them on Amazon, but I did put them in YouTube and Facebook here, to make life easier for you to find them. So let me just check if there's any comments I want to. Okay, Sam. Hi, Sam. Resonates. Have been seeing more signs, especially birds and angel numbers. Oh, I love that. Are they specific types of birds? You should look up if they're a specific type of bird, especially if you're seeing the same type of bird over and over again. Hi, Ruth. Ruth is one of our members in my membership community. Your book started me on this path. That makes me so happy. I mean, my gosh, I know the books that have started me on the path. So if my book could be that for someone else, that's why I wrote it. I literally wrote it because I was like, I just want to help people, especially those who have lost loved ones. And the book is not just about, losing loved ones. It's about the whole entire universe communicating with you, not just your loved ones. But obviously, it was the death of my mother that started me on my path. But that makes me very happy. If my book can either start someone or help someone or shift someone in the ways that I've always been a reader. Like, when I remember being young and just having stacks of books of like fiction books, like Sweet Valley Twins I used to read, and Charlotte's Web was my favorite book. I've always been a reader. So the fact that I could write a book that would impact someone else, that is why I do it. I write it because I love to write and I love to read and I love to share and teach stuff that works for me. I always tell people, if I find a shampoo that I think is the most amazing shampoo in the world, I will tell everyone about it. Like, this is how I am. So when I find something that works, that makes me feel better, that shifts my life, that helps me understand and move forward and grow and bring in more money or change my career or find love or whatever it is, I'm going to share it. Like, that is just my personality. So again, if I find a blush that I love, I want to tell you, oh my gosh, you have to get this blush. This is how I am. Okay, let me just say. Marie, thank you for all you do. You've helped so many people, myself and mother included. Oh, you're very welcome. That makes me so happy. Oh, wait, hold on. The Power of Attention TV special opened up a new world for me about 20 years ago. That's exactly what it did for me. It had to have been, because my mother passed away it'll be 23 years, I think. So it was after she died. I guarantee you were watching it the same time I was watching it. God bless Dr. Wayne Dyer and PBS because he's done so many. And by the way, for those of you who maybe don't have any idea what we're talking about, John and I, with this Power of Attention special, you can get the CD of the actual, like, oh, see, I say CD, it's probably an MP3 now. You can get the audio of that special, not just the book. You can get the audio of the Power of Intention book, but you can get the audio of the Power of Intention PBS special, which is hours long. And you can still listen to it today. I don't know about the video because I'm sure they don't run it anymore. And I don't know if they still have that video available. But if you look it up, because I bought the audio of that PBS special years ago, I bought it. I still have it somewhere on my phone or something like that. And I still love it. So you can still watch or at least listen to what we're talking about from that special. It's very cool. Oh, Marie, I can't wait for your new book. Oh, Marie, I can't wait for my new book. I can't wait for my new book because it is the other side. I mean, it's not, listen, it's not coming out until early next year. I apologize. Publishing takes forever. But it's the other side of this coin because it's all about what I was talking about getting stuck and asking the universe for help and then following those signs. It's called the Higher Help Method, and I break down my steps for you to move forward in any area of your life that you are stuck. And I again, it's based on my life. It's based on what has worked for me, and I use it every day. I use it all of the time. I teach it all of the time. And so that book is literally going to be your resource guide. The second half of the book is all broken down by chapters of your life. So there's a chapter. The second half is like money and abundance, career and purpose, spiritual path, parenting. There's a book on fertility and parenting and all of that. Or a thing on it, a chapter on it. Health, physical health, emotional health, like all broken up by chapters. I give you the lists of what higher helpers work in that area. I give you a list of crystals. I give you specific prayers. I give you specific gratitude exercises. I give you specific rituals. It is so exciting. I cannot even explain it, but I mean, there's no point in me torturing you about it because it's not going to be out until next year. So you will, believe me, you'll hear me talking about it plenty once it actually comes out, but it is called the Higher Help Method. And once it's available, for pre-order, we've already finalized the cover, but I didn't want to share. I don't want to like share it and then you can't get it. So, but I'll share it in the future. So exciting. I can't even tell you. Oh, hold on. John is saying that he believes the Power of Intention video is on YouTube. So you guys check that out. If at all you're wondering what in the world did Tammy see in the middle of the night that changed so much for her, you can look it up, Dr. Wayne Dyer, the Power of Intention PBS special. Then you should be able to find it. I don't know if the whole thing is on YouTube or not, but I know for a fact you can get the audio because I have gotten it in the past. So that would be so cool if it's on YouTube. Maybe they have segments of it on YouTube. I don't know, but yeah, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. I still can't believe it's been over 20 years since I saw that. But anyway, that's why I wanted to come on here, was to share with you some of those books that had an impact on me. And also in sharing those books and in sharing my story, I want you to realize how guided you are. It's not just Tammy that is being guided. Just like years ago when people would hear about my stories of my mother sending me signs, they would think it was my mother. It was so powerful. And that's why I wound up writing the book, because I'm like, oh, no. If I can do this, you can do this, and let me show you how to do it. And so I just want you to start looking back in your own life and realizing how guided you are. And then start today just asking the universe to guide you forward now, because it's never too late, and it will guide you. It will guide you to whatever resource you need. And pay attention to anything that repeats as well in your life. A name of a book that keeps repeating, or the name of, like I said, a doctor or a healing modality or a class, or, if you keep hearing about yoga or whatever it is, that's the universe directing you. So thank you all for joining me here today and taking a walk down memory lane so that I can go through some of these books that I have loved. And if any of them resonate with you, feel free to check them out. And they're, like I said, they were just awesome and amazing. And it's kind of what started me to get to where I am today, and to be here with you guys. So I will be back once again, of course, next Thursday at noon Eastern. And who knows what I'll talk about next week. We'll see what the spirit has to say. I'm also still going to try and line up some special guests because I always think it's fun to bring some of my friends onto here, or people that I love or that resonate with me. And I think I'm going to start doing that, sort of interspersed with just me. And I'm excited. A lot of stuff coming up. I'm going to be teaching a class later this month, so stay tuned for that, where I'm going to teach you how to meet a guide. We're actually going to meet a guide in that class, and then you can listen to the class over and over again because you'll own it to be able to meet more guides. So that is coming up. I have a lot of fun things. My pendulum class is coming up in July. So stay tuned for more from me. And until then, have an amazing and wonderful weekend. If you are stuck, just take a second to celebrate it and just say to the universe, okay, I'm stuck. I get you want me to go in another direction. Can you just send the signs to show me what direction that is and see what happens? And thank you all for being here. And I'm sending you love, and I will be back here next week. See you soon. Bye, everyone.